All right, Steve, so we've got another one of your favourite take with me probes on the table here.
There's two of them actually, but here, yeah, this is what we're talking about, the differential probe. Why would we carry that? I guess if we start by explaining what all these probes are, and we recognise them hopefully. Certainly this one is what we call a ×1 test lead. Of course you would carry this normally. This could be substituted for that, but either way. Here we've got a maximum of 200 volts. That's low energy, remember, and that's our ground lead. So if we were measuring 200 volts here, we would actually be measuring also 200 volts at this end, at the BNC end as well. So there is no what we call attenuation within this cable. So whatever is measured here will also be present on the BNC.
Hence ×1.
Hence ×1.
So if you measure 10 volts, you're going to get 10 volts
It's
out.
10 volts at the other end.
10 in, 10 out.
Exactly right, exactly right. Next then is what we call the scope probe. This one is ×10 attenuation. So here, the highest rating on here is 400 volts. Again, think low energy, so think ignition spikes, flyback voltages, these kind of things. Attenuated so that if there were 400 volts here, divide by 10 would be 40 volts here on the BNC end. Okay, so remember that as the signal comes in, it's divided by 10. We call it a ×10 probe, it's a division, because when it gets to the software knows what we've connected because it's BNC plus. The software will then multiply the signal by 10. So as an end user, thanks to using BNC plus, we don't have to notify the software we've got an attenuator fitted. It already knows what probe is connected, so it handles the attenuation for us.
But even though that says 400 volts on there,
yes,
we shouldn't be using this for
high voltage.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we say high voltage, this is things like electric vehicle, high voltage, high energy. So basically the orange cables that can kill. For example, to put that in context, if I'm measuring primary ignition voltage, momentarily the induced voltage into the primary circuit could well be 400 volts. But the risk to life from that, it is high voltage but low energy, low current. However, when we look at 400 volts on an EV, DC especially, that's another story, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I must also add here that whilst this signal wire, the red lead is attenuated, the ground lead is not. Okay, so how could that affect what you're measuring? Well, imagine if you were measuring across a high voltage component. The signal wire, the red, is attenuated. However, if there was high voltage passing through on the ground wire, because you weren't measuring reference to ground, you were measuring across a high voltage component.
AC, that's...
AC,
like,
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
In which case, there'd be no attenuation on that ground. So now all of a sudden, channel A ground on your scope is now raised up above, well, likely to be the maximum, because we know with our scope we can measure plus or minus 30 volts from ground if you're doing AC. For example, an inductive crankshaft sensor, that's a great example, a floating one. If you were measuring across a floating crankshaft sensor, as the engine speed increases, your ground side will flag up something called a common mode range error.
Oh, okay.
And it will stop showing you data. Excuse me, what we don't want to do is show erroneous data. A little yellow exclamation mark appears, no data is shown. As soon as you remove that earth wire, your data returns. So yeah, please remember, it does have attenuation. It's one to carry, because if you're not sure if you are going to expect flyback voltage from an injector or something like that, then why not use that? Just to protect your scope as well.
Primary ignition test and stuff. And these are actually required for not only higher voltages, but high frequency, right?
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
Flex ray.
Yeah, high impedance, thanks for that, I completely forgot, yeah. Again, you could not use this across flex ray, because remember, this must be reference to ground. But this is attenuated, but also high impedance. So what do we mean by high impedance? Well, if we come back to the ×1 test lead, this will be low impedance. I'm not sure what the specs are on that, but we have to remember that when we're measuring something, we are intruding. So there is an impedance in the scope itself of 1 meg, so 1 megaohm between the signal wire going in and to ground. So that's 1 million ohms, which sounds huge, doesn't it? It sounds like it shouldn't have any influence. However, when you're putting it on a circuit that is sensitive to impedance change, for example, a floating crankshaft sensor or a CAN bus, maybe high frequency, certainly CAN FD, flex ray, 10 base, something like that. If I'm going to CAN high, reference to gain, I'm placing 1 million ohms in parallel with the circuit that I'm measuring. How we accommodate that, the attenuated scope probe has an impedance of about 8 mega ohms, so 8 million ohms, plus the impedance in the scope as well. So all of a sudden we put in 8 million ohms in parallel with the circuit. So if that was going to CAN high, CAN FD, flex ray, we call that bus plus on flex ray, reference to ground, 8 million ohms. The circuit doesn't bat an eyelid. We're not really placing any load on that circuit that we're measuring. And it's fine to do bus plus on flex ray, for example, and then have another high impedance probe on channel B to bus minus flex ray terminology, that one. Or CAN FD, if it's CAN FD, it's still CAN high, CAN low, flexible data. These are high-speed networks, higher than 500 kilobit per second. So yeah, there's a journey already. And then we finally get to what I wanted to talk about, which was the differential probe. So here then, this is kind of your ×1, ×10 features, all wrapped up into one probe with additional features as well. So let's start with attenuation first of all. Attenuation, the specifications on this are that we can measure up to a maximum of 1400 volt. And throughout here, protective impedance, so from our test leads that are connected to our high voltage component, all the way through to the BNC end, we have stages of protection that ensure that any high voltage that is measured on these 4 millends will never reach this point here, such that we would get either an erroneous measurement or a dangerous voltage.
I suppose you could almost say that any voltage you measure on these leads pretty much stops there.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
then what you measure here is like a low voltage output.
It's a low voltage output, yeah. High voltage
like an amp clamp.
Low, yeah, okay, so you've used that as analogy. You've got a millivolt value per amp. So there will be a millivolt value per volt that comes in here. Okay, so yeah, if you sort of did that and sort of put that barrier in there, obviously the design steps that voltage down. The software recognizes what you've connected because it knows this is a differential probe. When we connect, the software then takes care of scaling that voltage back up to what it should be. Yeah, feature number one is the fact that we've got this protective impedance all the way through the probe. The next is that it's differential. So what does differential mean? Well, there is no link between this ground here and the ground here, like we had in our ×10 scope probe and in our ×1 lead. It's totally differential, so if I was measuring 100 volts on this red wire and 10 volts on there, the differential between the two would be 90. Did I say 100?
You said 110.
110, which means the differential between them. For a second I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, so you have the differential. Likewise, if there was 1000 volts on here and 100 volts on here, it would be 900 volts on here. But that's what the software would display.
Equivalent.
The equivalent, yeah. What we get here is a millivolt value that represents that 900 volts.
So it's safe. You're not getting any high voltage.
Nothing.
At the scope. Because I've messed around with some stuff as well. I've seen it with interference and whatever.
Right.
You know, when you're doing a test and you get like interference, you're like, well, where is it coming from? You start disconnecting stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So disconnecting the power supply of the laptop can sometimes get rid of interference.
Can quench the noise. Yes, it can.
Which actually tells me then there's a connection between the power supply.
Yes.
The laptop,
yes.
The USB,
yes,
all the way to the tip of the probe.
Yes, so there's a path, is what we're talking about, yes.
A path of sorts. So if you were measuring on here and there was like an unsafe voltage hit this,
Right.
you've then got the potential for that to make its way through.
Yeah, now that would, yeah, because you've got your impedance on the signal wire, yeah, and there is some protection, of course, on the ground. But what you're talking about is a ground path from the ground on the front of the scope through to the ground on the USB, yeah, through to the ground to here, and trace that all the way back, yeah. But the noise you talk about quite often is maybe either poor grounding on the mains or a noisy power supply.
Vehicle battery chargers and stuff like
yeah,
that.
or
Those
even
AC, DC.
Even laptop battery chargers as well. We can sometimes accommodate that. You know, so the set screw on the rear of the scope here, we can actually reference that to ground. So take a test lead, 4mm lead, whatever it may be, an earth eyelet, and then to chassis ground. We'll often quench any noise that's present on the USB cable as a result of a noisy charger.
So that to chassis ground?
To chassis ground.
Right, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully quench that. It may be that you've got to go and find that source. Remember, you've got tools in the software that can combat noise.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
so you can do hardware filtering, bandwidth limit. You could do low pass filtering. Ultimately, if everything is noisy, totally noisy, something's not right somewhere. You know, we can tolerate some noise, but if the whole waveform is a wash of noise, just try the quick things like disconnect your laptop power supply. If it's all gone, there you are. That was your source, you know.
Yeah, I hope you got enough battery.
And yeah, make sure before you spoil your data. All right, so protective impedance, differential in nature, so there is no connection or direct connection between the ground here and the ground here. Likewise, the signal and the signal here. It is high impedance, so we talked about impedance in the scope as being 1 meg, didn't we? Times 10 probe, 8 meg. Now these are 16 meg per side. Okay, so 16 meg on there, million ohms, and 16. So the total impedance of this probe, actually 32 million ohms, mega ohms. So there is no chance, nothing automotive I've come across where I've measured across a network with a differential probe has been influenced or affected by my measurement. It's kind of the ultimate passive way of hopping onto a circuit without influencing what it is you're measuring. So yeah, high impedance, differential nature. It is the probe to carry, and one more thing, as though that wasn't enough, it is cat rated as well. So all of a sudden when we start measuring electric vehicles, cat rating comes into play to protect us from transient voltages. That's all about voltages that could, from outside sources, when you're connected to the grid, that could actually influence or offend your test equipment and ultimately the user. For example, we're connected to the mains and we're charging, and for whatever reason there's a lightning strike, something like that, that finds its way into the grid. That's now on its way to you. We want that relevant protection between the circuit we're measuring and ourselves and the scope, of course, but ultimately it's about us, isn't it? Hopefully.
Yeah.
There are those who'd be more upset about possible damage to a probe or scope than yourself, but hey, that's... right, so you've got that cat rating in here. This is Cat 3, 1000 volt. Now on that note, whilst this is Cat 3, our backpinning probes, for example, if you were measuring the CP circuit on an electric vehicle, these are Cat 2 rated because they are backpinning probes, and because they have that exposed tip there, means the highest cat rating they could achieve is Cat 2. If you ever look at a Cat 3 probe, there'd be virtually no tip exposed. I think, did you say 3 mil? There's about 3 mil normally for a Cat 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on here you've got, that says Cat 3, doesn't it?
Cat 3, 1000 volt. All right.
So by putting that Cat 2 end on there, you've lowered the...
Yeah, you actually downgrade your cat rating. So in that scenario now, we've got a Cat 2 probe. Although it's on a Cat 3 differential probe, the whole measurement system here is downgraded to Cat 2. So just please bear that in mind. If you are connected to a breakout box of some sort, yeah, and you are into a 4mm banana socket, then that's fine, that's Cat 3. That's what lowers it basically, is the exposed tip there.
So one of the cool little tests that we're going to show that you can do with this,
Yeah.
of course we talk about using the differential probe a lot with high voltage scenarios, but
Yes.
it's also really good for
low
doing like
voltage.
network
Yeah.
testing.
Yeah, we've got here the differential probe, and it's actually connected across CAN high, CAN low. So this is a 500 kilobit CAN. You can measure across there with a high impedance probe. I wouldn't recommend that, because what we don't want to do is introduce any variables. When I say high impedance, like the times 10 probe, what we don't want to do is introduce any variables that could be a result of our measurement. If you're going to measure CAN, typically you'd measure CAN high reference to ground, CAN low reference to ground. So that's going to cost you 2 channels. But because we've got such high impedance, and it is a differential probe, never the two will meet those signal wire and the ground wire, we can measure across the CAN network. So using one channel, we'll be able to measure CAN high, CAN low. We'll obtain the differential voltage, which is the voltage used by the computer to actually calculate logic 1 or logic 0. So we'll do that. So we are connected now. The software knows it's a differential probe. We see there in the software high voltage diff. Okay. And I'll just turn on the ignition. And there we are. And if I just pause that and come back and we zoom in, we can see we've got CAN packets of data here. Real beauty here is that we are 0.2 volts, aren't we? Because our recessive voltage, 2.5 minus 2.5 is 0. 3.5 minus 1.5 is 2. So that 0.2 volt, that differential voltage, that's really what we've achieved. And we've done that with one channel. So now we have 3 other channels that we can use for whatever it is, whatever you may need. If channels are a premium, which they always are, aren't they? How many times do you need 5 channels? Yeah.
More arms.
And more arms, yeah.
So the benefit here then of measuring CAN high and CAN low at the same time, which is what we're doing. We've got the red lead on CAN high, the black lead on CAN low.
Yeah.
We're actually checking both sides of the network.
Yes.
Whereas if we were doing just CAN high,
Yeah.
there are some certain faults where you might not actually see any.
Yes. Yeah. We've got to be careful actually doing this, because you're right that we might not spot an impedance change in the network. So you know sometimes how when the impedance changes, that recessive voltage 2.5 might float up.
Yes.
You may have seen that. So all of a sudden CAN's sitting at a recessive of about 4 volts. It's still going CAN high from 4 volts. CAN low from 4 volts, your differential will show you 0.2.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't see that. So this is more a thing about, I need to grab some CAN data. I don't have a CAN fault. I need to grab some CAN data while I'm measuring other circuits that are showing faults. Does that make sense? I think that's where I'd probably use it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's the beauty of differential voltage, isn't it? It ensures CAN remains fault tolerant even when sometimes it drifts outside of its typical values.